Today, I'm going to take a look at Royalists and Roundheads, English Civil War quad game published by Worldwide War Games, or 3W, designed by Robert Markham. Now, why am I looking at Royalists and Roundheads? Well, this week I was covering Game Fix, which is a war game magazine that was published in 94 to 96, maybe only made it to 95, somewhere around that time frame. And one of the games that Game Fix published was Rob Markham's Naseby, which is basically uses the same system as Royalists and Roundheads. In fact, I found this in my copy of Royalists and Roundheads. I had bought this several years ago and put it in with Royalists and Roundheads, but this is a whole separate scenario on the Battle of Naseby, and but you know, that got me thinking, hey, I haven't talked much about 3W and its games. I've covered just a smidge of 3W stuff. I have I don't know, half a dozen or more 3W games, and so I thought, you know, why not take a look at this since I'm covering Naseby today, earlier today, so I'll take a look at that. I'll put a link to that in the description of this video. I thought, well, let's take a look at this a little bit. So with that, let's take a look a little bit. Let's flip over the back here and see what we have here. This is as I said on the front, it's a quad game. So it is 4 games. You have the Battle of Marston Moor, Naseby, with very important battle, Justice Mills and Kilsyth, and I probably mispronounced that, but you know, I apologize in advance. So you have 4 games in this box, and it's, you know, it's a relatively small box, and a lot of my 3W games came in boxes this size, so I don't know if this was like standard for them. And I bought these after the fact. I mean, these games were published back in the day. I don't know if there's a copyright on here. This is 1991. I bought this probably in, you know, sometime south of or past 2010, you know, so maybe in the last 10, 12 years maybe. So a lot of my 3W games came after the fact. Long after they were published, because I was looking at coverage over specific topics. I didn't have a lot of tactical games on the English Civil War, and this was easy to get and economical. So one reason I got it. So this is a system, and it covers these 4 games, and it's the same system in Naseby as well. It's not an overly complex system. As you see here on the complexity, it has it kind of at the mid-level of medium, so it's mid-mid or mid-medium. Solitaire suitability is very high. There's not a solitaire system in this, if I recall, but it's you play it two-handed, and there's no hidden information, so it's not that. Well, I take that back. I think there is some hidden information, like with the command sheets, but not a terrible amount of hidden information. So let's take a quick look at this and see what's in this box. As I said, I was interested in, I haven't played this in a long time, and this just piqued my interest when I was looking at the Game Fix version of this. So, you know, I've played this so way back when, but so I separated the counters by the 4 battles, and then these are the counters that you're going to use for all the battles. So this is going to have like your command sheets, and we'll talk about that a little bit, and then like administrative counters like for statuses and stuff like that. Then you have the battles, and I cut out I do this sometimes, but sometimes I don't do as much as I probably wish I should have. But like on the counter sheet, it'll have like the name of the battle for those counters, especially when you have a game that has like more than 1 battle in it, and this one has 4. So these are the counters for Marston Moor in here. Then this, and Naseby, I think this is Naseby, if I can find the little thing I put in there. Sometimes those are harder to find. So I have all 4 of the battles. So this one's, you can tell, is a relatively small one here. You can tell by the size of the bags of how involved that battle was going to be. This one is Justice Mills there. So anyway, let's look at the rules here. And this is I bought this. I don't believe this one was shrink wrap, but it was unpunched. I think I punched it. But this is all you got. You got the maps, I'll show you that, and then you get the rules, and then you get this table here, which is the only player aid, which is the melee table, and a game turn track, and that's it. And this is, you know, a little bit thicker than normal paper, but not much, okay? So not your typical player aid quality paper. Let's look at the rules here. As I said, the rules aren't overly complex, but anytime you're dealing with a command structure, so there's rules on command and range of the command and being in and out of command and effects from that adds a little bit of complexity, of course, and plus there's morale involved on dealing with combat results and how the troops handle that. There's some interesting, they stapled the scenarios in the middle of the book. When we get to that, I found that kind of interesting. So here is, it's triple column and it's not in color. 1991 standards probably. That's probably not surprising. So here is an example of the components. So here's an example of your combat units. So you're going to have combat strength. You're going to have a indication if it's able to fire, because this is the musket and pike era. So you're going to have some pike stuff and some sword and some bows and some other non-gunpowder stuff, and then you're going to have some gunpowder units. So this one shows if it's able to fire, and that could be bow or gunpowder. You have movement allowance and you have morale there. Then on leaders, you have command, you have the command span, and then you have combat bonus. Of course, you're going to have, and then you might have some overall leaders too, like you have Charles and Cromwell. And then there's an example of some of the different units there. There's a good old musketeer, there's a lancer, there's a bowman, and the like. So yeah, as I see, it's triple column. This talks about leaders. You have leaders casualties, overall leaders. Then you're going to have these command shits. And these are, I think, kind of are hidden. You're going to put these command shits under certain leaders if they have troops underneath them. So there's like an attack command, and all units in command using the attack command ship must move at least half their movement allowance and must end their movement closer to the enemy. So this is kind of a way of handling the orders of the day. So if you assign an attack command, then units that leader is commanding is going to have to follow these requirements. You have an advance command, you have a stand command, retreat command, reserve, muster, okay? And then this is the process of how you change your command shits, okay? So that's kind of the way orders are handled. And then, of course, certain leaders have different ranges, and here's your chart on what's in command. So like this leader has a 3 command span, so 1, 2, 3, they're all in command. And then there's a rule that if you're adjacent to a friendly unit that's in command, then you can expand command. So this is in command by expansion. Of course, this poor sap is way out of command over here. Facing and zone of control is going to be important for determining attacks. And then you're done. No, you're not done with the rules, even though, so they stapled so we go from 6.0 to 14. So they put, I don't know why they did that, but they put the scenarios, so for each of the 4 different battles are in the middle of the book. I guess you can unstaple those, and so you have those standing out separately. Maybe that's the thought process there. But then why is it numbered? Anyway, that's a whole nother notion. So here's the different scenarios. And there's 2 different, for each of the scenarios, there's 2 different settings. There's a battle scenario, we're just doing that specific battle. Then there's a campaign scenario, which adds some additional conditions to the overall play. So those are the 4 different scenarios, and I believe each of those 4 have a battle and a command, or a campaign, I should say, campaign scenario. Here's your victory conditions, and then we're back to the rules here. We were talking about zone of control, weren't we? So here's zone of control. Here's stacking, movement. You know, movement's not, you know, not a whole lot there, right? Movement's going to be pretty basic. You got your terrain effects chart and your movement allowance or movement points, and then that's it. And here's combat. There's defensive fire, offensive fire, and melee or whatever you want to, however you want to pronounce it. Potato. Here's fire combat. And again, not all units have range, and so you're going to have to look for that designation on what the range is. Here's the range table, fire combat table, line of sight, of course, is going to be important for firing. Melee combat table, advance and retreat, artillery and retreat, and then morale. So this is kind of your effects of combat and what happens here. Like there's rout and recovery, and then you have victory conditions, and they're going to be different for each of the different scenarios. And if we looked on that one chart, you're going to see different victory conditions for the scenario. Then there's some optional rules here. Not a ton, right? Just a couple of optional rules, and then you have designer notes. And then we're to the chart. So you have terrain effects chart, which depending on the type of unit, infantry, cavalry, leaders, artillery, and skirmish might have different ones based on the terrain type. And then you have, so sorry, I need to come down a little bit. The different type of unit based on the terrain type, and then you have the defensive modifier for fire and melee on there as well. Not everybody has those, but some of them do. And some of them cannot, like moving through river or woods is not available, except for like leaders and skirmishers can move through woods, and nobody can move through a river. So you're going to need a ford or a bridge or something. Can't move through cities. Interesting. Here's range table for bow, musket, infantry, cavalry, and artillery based on the distance and hexes there. And here's your fire combat table. You're either going to have a no effect, which is most of these, or you're going to have an M, which is all combat units and target hex must make a morale check. Or you're going to have a number like a 1. The top combat unit in the target hex suffers 1 step loss, and all combat units in the hex make a morale check. So that's how you do fire combat there. Okay. So that is the rules. Again, not overly complex, but gives you a flavor for the musket and pike, period. Now let's look at the maps. And there's one map, but it's dual-sided, so it has all the different battles in here. Here is Justice Mills, and this is probably the larger of the maps. I probably need to go up periscope a little bit here to give you a better perspective on this. So here's Justice Mills, and it's really interesting, the city up there. Very nice looking city. I might go a little closer on that. You have some fields here. So not a bad looking map. I mean, there's some, just green to cover some areas, but there's some terrain relief and stuff on here. That looks pretty nice. So that's Justice Mills, and then we flip this over, and we have Naseby, which is a totally different looking battlefield. You've got a couple of hills here, or elevated areas, then even a higher area. Couple of woods, and then a lot of clear here. Then the other ones are going to be divided, so they're going to be split maps. So like this is Kilsyth, and it's just 1/2 of that bigger map here. And you go up to yellow, brown to almost a red or rust color, which that must be the highest. That's level 4. Oh, there's even level 5 over here, which is kind of a purple. So you got level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's kind of cool. Then we have Marston Moor is this map over here. So interesting, 4 totally different looking maps. Of course, there are 4 totally different battles, but you do get a sense of how the terrain could affect the battle just from a quick look of the maps, right? I kind of like that. I'm kind of a map person. So this is Marston Moor. So there you have it. Those are the maps that are included, and I think they look nice. Let's do a close-up on that city there. That's just neat how they do the Aberdeen. So kind of a neat the way they do the whole city grid there. Have this kind of large hill or plateau right outside the city there. So there you have it. That is what I wanted to cover today based on, you know, flipping through this Naseby. I thought, well, let's look where it came from, Royalists and Roundheads. And I believe this is number 1. I mean, the first one's never numbered, right? It's not Rocky 1, it's Rocky. But I think there was other editions of this. I think maybe as many as 3. There could have been more, but I think there's like a Royalists and Roundheads 2 and Royalists and Roundhead 3, which is just covering more battles. I don't know if they changed the rules over time or clarified things, but they just, I think, added more battles to the mix. So there you have it. That is my copy of Royalists and Roundheads, and thought I would share that with you all today. Of course, I have I put my counters for the Naseby in this same box along with the game fix. So you can't see what I'm doing here. I'm too close in. So there you go. That is what you have in a box of Royalists and Roundheads, and that's what I thought I'd cover with you. If any of you have played this, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. This has been around since '91, so surely someone has played this, and I'll stop calling you Shirley. I'll probably go back and look at some of my other 3W games. They were an interesting game publisher. And it had their own, I believe they had their own house organ for a while, like with the Wargamer, I think was tied to them. So so interesting company in that regard. Interesting publisher from the 90s. And they might even went back into the 80s, but definitely had some stuff in the 90s. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again, I'll put a link to the Game Fix Naseby, so if you want to see what I've been covering on the Game Fix side, you can check that out as well. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching.